Previous guest, first question.
All right.
I'll hand it over to you. It's a mystery to both of us.
Here we go. So, knowing what you know now, having experienced what you have experienced, what is the one thing you would have either done differently or advised your younger self? I would advise myself, let's see here, to sit back and be more patient. Listen more, learn more, take more. There's a few things actually in the evenings after work, take more time to yourself. Remember, be more of a craftsman of your trade. I learned a lot early in the Marine Corps to the attention to detail portion of it, but not thinking forward 30, 60, 90, 100 days, 180 days, 2, 3, 5 years down the road of what that could entail by doing so. Being more disciplined with my mind. I was so young and immature back then at the age of 20 when I joined that, just those are the things I look back now and going, and I'm looking at my peers. A lot of them were more disciplined in certain trades, especially like the spec ops field. The guys in Force Reconnaissance are guys that were trigger pullers more so than I was in the Marine Corps. Spit shining boots, uniform inspections, those types of things I was in my job I was good at. But to go to the next level, I think I lacked at that time the maturity, wisdom, and discipline to follow through with where I really wanted to get. And so when I look back now, 30 years ago, that's what I would tell myself. Take your time and be more disciplined.
I don't think it can be overstated at times, but it's one of those things that is so true about you get enough laps around the sun and you start being able to take that step back and look at that bigger picture. When you're 18, 20 years old, especially going into a meat grinder like joining the Marine Corps, where so much of it is just learning the structure of the Marine Corps, it's so hard to see beyond your own footprints. No pun intended, the yellow footprints. It's only once you've got time on, and not only time on a job, but time in life, to where you can start seeing that little thing isn't the important thing. It's the 5 steps ahead that's really going to be important.
Exactly. And I got drowned, or I didn't get drowned, but I had a hard time getting past that when I look back now. So stuck on that one moment instead of, hey, that's not that difficult. Just get through it and get to the next level, and you'll be better then when you get there.
Was there a moment or an event that caused you to move off that? So you say that's where I would get stuck, is I would focus on the one moment. Was there something that caused you to change and go, wait a minute, I need to be able to look at that bigger picture?
My leadership. There were people that I had starting from a young NCO going forward, watching me trip and fall, or watching me come to that point of where I couldn't get past it. And then I had good peers, and then I had really awesome staff NCOs that would come up to me and be like, hey, you do realize there's a different way of doing this, right? And I was like, I would look at them and I would get frustrated. Even I did it as a young boy too. And then coming in the Marine Corps, luckily, like I said, I had good staff NCOs that would come up to me and, hey, did you think about this? Let me show you this. Oh, by the way, the technical manual shows you right here. Did you bother to read it? Something so simple as reading a technical manual, which all men are not good at doing, whether it's directions or reading the instructions first to go over here to do that. And I'm like, oh man. And then I would feel so retarded that mental mind block would be so obvious. And then that one key word would just set me in motion for the next 5 years in a way to where I'm like, all right, I'm good.
I laugh at something you just said, because I can guarantee you right now, if you gave me something to put together, 57 years old, I would open that box and start trying to put it together before I ever even thought about, let me take 2 seconds and just read the instructions.
For example, I have a 6-month-old now, so we have this little small play pen that we bought him that folds up, and you can easily unfold it. While I'm sitting here trying to unfold it without reading the directions, why is this thing not doing this? And then I had to read it. I'm like, oh, went back, and in 2 seconds it was up. So yeah, super ridiculous. Even like sighting in your weapon. Just a simple, the front sight post or your rear aperture, making a few changes, not knowing that the front sight post, adjusting it first before your rear, huge. Dialed it in.
All those little things. But the other thing too is, you mentioned 30 years ago when you went into the Marine Corps. we've all experienced this. Today, the buzzword is find a mentor. We all have had people in our careers who pulled us aside and said, hey, pull your head out of your ass, do this, do this. It never always had the title mentor, but there have always been, if you look back on your life and your career, there's always been those people who tried to pull you aside and say, there's a easy, work smarter, not harder kind of deal.
Yes, and that in the early 90s, those were buzzwords. I think that's when I was in the early 90s, when I came in, you were getting rid of all the old Vietnam era guys, and they weren't just by barking orders at you and then disappearing. The Marine Corps was shifting. I believe General Krulak was the commandant at the time, and we were shifting from that type of mentality post Desert Storm to now actually using that word mentor and getting the NCO leadership back down in the lower levels and having the leadership principles and traits mean something. And then you as a young corporal becoming a mentor to the young Marines that were below you, or they were your peers at some point. And then as you develop throughout, that's when you developed your skills as a mentor. And then the actual staff NCOs at that time too were getting told, hey, you should put more time in developing your younger Marines versus just giving orders and then leaving and then coming back and yelling because it wasn't done correctly. Well, did you properly teach them? Did you instruct them? Did you give them those hidden elements of the instructions that are there, but they don't know about? They have to learn the hard way. The post-hazing phase was going away. When as I was coming up, they were getting rid of it. All the Force Reconnaissance guys that were getting pinned on their jump wings and then just hazing back behind people. Get that type of mentality was starting to leave, even though it has its effective moments. But being a proper mentor of instructing and showing, like we were going to earlier, when I would get stuck. So being that mentor was being defined in the early 90s for me. And that's, as I was promoted or got promoted in the Marine Corps and earned to a higher rank, I had tried to put myself in the shoes of those young men and women who are sitting there. And it's difficult because you don't want to give them the answers, but you also don't want to see them fail either. So you have to try to give them that extra instruction but not give them the answers. Kind of dangle the carrot a little bit and get them to keep coming for more. And develop their leadership, because one day they're going to be a master sergeant, one day they're going to be a gunny or a staff sergeant, and you got to let them know, well, it's not easy when you get there. Just because you get promoted doesn't make it easier. You get paid more and you do have a little bit more flexibility, but you still have to work very, very hard because now you're responsible for more lives than just yourself. So yes, developing as a mentor during that time frame to now meant something different then than it is today. But you're right, we do have more mentors per se. And I try to be one just for my own family and for my friends too, especially in our surf club.
In the grand scheme of things, it is obviously a much better mentality to operate an organization, mentoring and teaching and not coddling, but ensuring, or at least putting the opportunity for success from day one in front of people. The catch-22 to that, though, is there are some of those what are called hazing rituals, whatever, of the old days, that there's still something about earning that I don't want to ever see it completely go away.
Neither do I. It should be controlled chaos in a way. Because you want, for example, when you earn something, it means more to you. When you earn that next rank, whether it's corporal to gunny to sergeant or from lieutenant to captain to lieutenant colonel, and you look back, if somebody was just given, if there was no milestones that you had to reach, if there was no hardships, even in a personal relationship, it doesn't mean anything to me. I didn't earn it. You don't look back on, oh man, having to earn something, having to go through the training, having to make it tough with your buddies, having to know what that pain is. What's the phrase is you bleed more in training, so you bleed less in battle, is a true statement. The harder you train, the tougher your mind becomes and the tougher your body becomes, so that your body will do what your brain tells it to do when it's time to do it, and you don't think about it. So yes, I think sometimes nowadays, I still work with Marines today. My job entails me on Camp Pendleton to work side by side with Amtrackers, the comm guys that work on the Amtracks, now ACVs. And as we were talking about mentors, the mentorship's not properly there. The guidance isn't properly there. and the toughness is hardly there anymore. The standards aren't there anymore. So when we go back and talk about that, trying to earn it, it starts with that individual leadership in that particular rank, and getting out of the office and going out there and making himself tougher, or her, and then his Marines, and creating that level that you want to maintain. And if people don't want to maintain that level, then everything goes down this way. And then when you try to come back up, it's much, much harder. And I realized that as a young Marine. And then as I got put in more responsibility, I realized I needed to set the tone right away. And this was the line that I wanted to keep everything at and only go higher. Now, there were people that I had to drag along, but that's in anything in life. And I loved it, though. I mean, there's times where I went home just mad and angry because there was a few people, or I was mad at myself for not doing what I was supposed to do and didn't achieve what we wanted to be at. But yeah,
that's the delicate balance, in the sense that if you go back to what the history of the Marine Corps is, you never want to drop that mystique that you knew when you went into boot camp, you were going to get smoked. That should never drop. All you need to do, in my opinion, you keep that level, that intensity there. You make it crystal clear. Hey, these are the standards of the Marine Corps. You chose to be here, meet the standards. But unlike the old times, instead of just barking the order, turn around, walk away, figure it out, that's where the mentoring comes in. Like, hey, I'm not going to drop the standards we require of you, but at the same token, I'm going to ensure that you're learning and getting all the opportunities to meet the standards.
I'm going to inspect what I expect and keep the standards where they're supposed to be.
And lead by example.
That's a hard part too, leading by example, because yes, leadership by example today is very, very hard. In the Marine Corps, as I watched, you no longer have uniform standards day to day because you didn't show up with your uniform. You needed in the early 90s when I came in, your uniform meant everything. When you showed up to work, your boots had to be spit shined. You were ironing your uniform, your cover, shave, everything, your general appearance. As soon as you walked in, everybody was looking at each other to make sure we were good to start the day with. Nowadays, it's not like that. You've got hair standards. I'm not banging on the Marine Corps. These are just leadership issues that I see from when I was in 30 years ago, is the haircuts, your uniform, how you conduct yourself as a business, how your office space looks, how you as a staff sergeant work with your Marines. I think it's too lackadaisical in my mind, but that's just me.
We're just old.
Yes.
Because I know on my side of the fence, one of the big things right now in law enforcement is beards, and the push to allow beards. And my thing is that it's a slippery slope. As soon as you start, because the thing is if the mass says, well, beards are okay, well, then where does it stop? Because then the next group that comes in and goes, well, I want facial piercings or whatever. Right now, you don't think it's acceptable, but every time you allow a deviation from that standard, because I go back to when I started in law enforcement, and I remember the old guys at that time, they were complaining about the fact that there were days back, in the late 70s, early 80s where they couldn't wear the long mutton chops,
Yep.
And so, yes, every generation complains. Every generation complains about the mustache. You can't have it below your lip. But when you start lowering the standards, it's going to have a ripple effect.
And I think the Marine Corps is going through that right now.
Do you think it's something that they can base? I mean, is it too far gone, or how do you rein it all back in?
Keep politics out of it. Have America realize that when they join the military period, it's not an experiment. It's not where you go to find your, how can I put this politely so I don't offend anybody? You go there to become an above average citizen. You go there to get your physical performance. You go there to defend our country when needed. You go there to be the best you can be physically and mentally. So when we have to go to a conflict, you're there to bring yourself and everybody that you went there with home. And if you're going there into the Marines or Army, Air Force, whichever one it is, and you have some kind of an agenda because you can't survive outside, but you want to come in and get things taken care of, that's the wrong mentality. It's not a science experiment to come into the armed services or to become a cop or to be, those types of things. You have to be on your A game. It's not a science experiment. It's like the movie 300, Sparta. They were, If I'm not mistaken, their soldiers, their Spartans were 100% from the time they were little boys until the time they, were grown men. They were warriors and fighters, period, to defend the homeland. And I think that's how our armed services should be. We shouldn't be worried about what goes on in society and what is affecting standards. Values should never change. Standards should never change when it comes to the military.
I'm a firm believer that not even necessarily volunteer, because it's even if you just go get a job, anything that you go sign up for that you're not the boss of, that it's not yours, you don't get to. It's not that, hey, I want to come play on your team, but you've got to bend to what I want. No, you didn't have to sign your name on the dotted line. You didn't have to walk into that job and say, will you hire me? At the same token, if you do that, then you comply with what that entity wants. Dress standards.
Not the other way around.
And I think that's where we've changed as a society.
I think so too. I agree with you. To become too flexible. The outside world is now trying to affect the inside. The politicians with their standards and how they think the military should reflect America. No, that we won wars and we have gotten to where we are today because of bloodshed, because of lessons learned, because of mistakes. So for example, pilots, when they fly, there's the book of blood that was created because of mistakes pilots made or equipment, things of that nature. So now the FAA doesn't deviate from any of that, because if they do, guess what? People fall out of the sky.
Let's go back though. Let's talk about you as a young boy growing up. Where's hometown? What molded your life?
See, I was born in Minnesota. My mom, that's where she was from. She's one of 5, 2 older brothers, 2 younger, and buried my dad there in Crookston, Minnesota. We moved from there to Mississippi, Louisiana, I think when I was 4 or 5 years old. Lived there on 4.5 acres for about 4 till I was in 4th grade.
What took your family down south?
My dad, just the warmer weather, and my dad's job opportunity. I think it was the early 80s, late 70s. The economy was not doing that well. I mean, he was a college teacher at the University of Minnesota in Crookston. From my understanding, he just didn't want to do that anymore. So he decided to go south in the restaurant business and hotel. And that's what he taught. So he thought he could do it down south, and it just didn't pan out that way. So that's why we were there. And then while we were living in Mississippi, he got a job with oil companies. So he would be gone 2 weeks, home a week, gone 2 weeks, home a week. So then we moved closer.
Like oil rig type stuff?
Mm-hmm. He wasn't what do they call that? Not a redneck, but a roughneck. No, he was like a lab guy, sat in the lab on the platform. He would do some offshore rigging, but also on land. The majority of it was on land though. So then we moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to be closer to him so he wouldn't have to. I think it was still 2 weeks. He was gone and then home a week, but at least he didn't have that commute. That was so bad. Spent from 5th grade all the way till sophomore year there. He got a job working for Piccadilly Cafeterias, which was a restaurant chain, and we ended up in Jacksonville, Florida, where I went to high school. I graduated high school in 91, and then I kind of knew I wanted to go in the Marine Corps. I had an uncle on my mom's youngest brother who was in the Marine Corps, and he was one of my, I looked up to him, basically. My dad couldn't go into any of the armed services because he had epilepsy, so they couldn't be in the Vietnam War. It's not that he didn't want to be, he just wasn't allowed to medically. So when that occurred, anyway, I graduated high school.
How was that move for you, moving from Mississippi to Florida? Because you're at a pivotal point in your life.
For sure. And in Louisiana and in Mississippi, we lived in the country for the most part. So I would always go hunting. I was fishing. We were in the woods all the time. My brother and I, we played neighborhood sports. So I was looking forward to moving to the beach because for some reason, when I was a kid, my dad and mom had these old records of the Beach Boys, and you would see surfing on TV and being close to the beach. And I was always intrigued by it. And now we're moving that close to the ocean, which I always wanted to be anyway, just never you're a kid, so you go wherever your parents are. You can't just run away and go, hey. So I ended up there, Jacksonville, Florida, in a small town called Orange Park. And when I went to Orange Park High School, and there's a big Navy town there, so the military was a presence everywhere. So you saw Marines, you saw the Navy. And I kind of always knew that I would end up joining the Marine Corps at some point. And I didn't want to go right away out of high school. I wanted to hang out for a little while. So I tried to go to college in Gainesville, Florida at Santa Fe Community College. And then
Were you good academically in school? Like leading up to graduating high school, were you a good academic?
I was in middle school and then went to high school. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, man,
Discovered friends and girls?
yes, I was about to say the girl word. And it was just and the high school was huge. Like when I left Baton Rouge, Louisiana, it was totally different mentality. Then when you got there, it was to Orange Park. It was just not a shock per se, but just a different way of living. The lifestyle was totally different. Weather, the people, which was fine. I didn't not like it. I loved it. It was just, wow, this is amazing. Like all this new stuff to do, and especially surfing. So, and then the kids just lived differently there. So there was drugs, there was drinking, there was able to do a lot more. And I'm been able to manipulate the system to do those things that I wanted to go do. Academically, if I'd applied myself, I would have been really good. But I was just an average student only because I didn't apply myself. If I'd like one of this, go back to this question, but I'd tell myself, hey, study more, be good academically so you have a good, strong foundation.
Did you play sports through high school?
Not when I got to Orange Park. No, it was just too big. And the competition was way higher than when I was used to at the high school. So I just felt intimidated at the time. So I didn't pursue it. And I felt a little out of place too, awkward. I probably should have gotten in there looking back at it anyway. At the time though, my dad was starting, his new job, and my mom she was working full time. She wasn't a stay-at-home mom. So we were left to explore and do these things at a level in which was comfortable for us. If we wanted to go play well, it's on you. We'd pay for it, but you got to get yourself there and do all these things. So I just kind of was trying to just not get through it, but learn, have fun, establish friends, and find my place in what I wanted to do and be able to do. So I made it through high school, no problem. I mean, I had a few things where I was in trouble because I didn't make very good decisions, which is probably another way that got me to who I am today, by making mistakes, not following through the good Christian life. We did go to church every Sunday. That was the rule that my mom and dad had until I turned 18, is that we had to go to church. So that's another thing too that I will compliment my parents on, is the fact that having a good Christian background. Won't go into the religion portion of it, but I do think having those values, the 10 Commandments, and learning the lessons that the Bible has can help you later on in life to have a very focused family life and a focused, how can I put this? Going forward in life, you have a good structure behind you to point you in the right direction. You know the difference between right and wrong, how to treat people.
You're getting a good foundation.
Correct. So I had that. So I just made poor choices basically in certain situations in high school.
Just young, stupid kid stuff, or anything that could have actually derailed your
Some of it could have derailed, meaning stealing, doing drugs, basically marijuana, nothing hardcore or anything wild like that. Just at that point in time in the early 90s, if you did marijuana at the time, you couldn't go into the Marine Corps, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, especially if you got caught. It's on your record. Now it's your juvie record, but you can't, it's there. So if somebody did a background check on you, you could be it was frowned upon in a huge way. Not like today where you get pulled over, it's not a big deal. Anyway, so those are the types of things I did do. Luckily, it was minor. It didn't keep me from being able to join the Marine Corps. So I graduated on time, no big deal, and ended up going to college for a little while and realizing that trying to work and go to school at the same time and not focusing on the academics and doing less partying was probably the best thing to do. But the reason why I think I didn't focus as hard is because I knew that I could go to the Marine Corps. So I was just enjoying where I was at the time, doing some school to figure out what that is and what it was, and realized, I don't think I'm mature enough at the time. And I didn't really want to continue to try to go through it because if I were to go back and tell myself if I was to go not join the Marine Corps and go back and talk to myself back then and say, do the academics, just take your time doing it and learn it and be good at it. Don't be stuck on this 4-year plan of hurry up and get your schooling done in 4 years so then you can go live in life. And that's true today when you hear people talk about going to school versus a trade. People have gotten these degrees that don't do anything for them. So that was what I was dealing with at that point in time in my life. After I graduated, tried to go to do the college route. And then at the same time, I had fallen in love with surfing. That was the one thing that I loved doing. I would drive 2 hours to go from Gainesville to the coast to surf and just spend the day, all day at the beach, and in love with it. It captured me from the time we moved to Jacksonville, Florida, till I joined the Marine Corps. And
there are a lot of veteran and first responder-owned coffee companies out there. Trident Coffee is one of them, but they're different. They're cold brew experts, and their beans are roasted for cold brew optimization. But for those of you who love hot coffee, this is a benefit to you as well. Hot or cold, their coffees taste amazing without the bitterness. Their instant cold brew is infused with powerful ingredients for performance, focus, and wellness, including antioxidants and electrolytes, ensuring smooth, steady energy with no jitters and no crashes. This isn't just coffee, it's fuel for your brain and your body. Whatever your coffee needs, Trident has you covered. From a variety of great tasting roasted beans to their instant cold brew and nitro cold brew in a can for when you're on the go. However you drink it, Trident Coffee is coffee upgraded. Get yours now at tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your purchase.
the kicker of this is that I joined the Marine Corps to be able to come to California to surf. It's a funny story, but it's true. Because I realized I knew I was going to join one of the services, but which one would get me closest to the ocean? And the Marine Corps was it. When you look at it, they're either at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, or Camp Pendleton, or Okinawa. And I was like, well, I know I'm not going here. So I joined up for 6 years. It guaranteed me E3, it guaranteed me coast option, and guaranteed me a job that I get to choose based off of my scores off the ASVAB. And luckily, after all said and done, I ended up at Camp Del Mar on Camp Pendleton in 1995 when I finally got there after I got all my MOS schools done. Got to my barracks room, walked out of the room and looked left, and there was the ocean right there. So I had succeeded in accomplishing that goal portion of it, of my life, of where I wanted to get to. Now, being so young, how was I going to sustain that? Well, you're at the mercy of the Marine Corps at that point.
How was the surfing at 29 Palms?
Well, that's where I did my, so that's a funny story because I joined in 93, and from 93 to 95, that's where I was doing my MOS school, was there. I started out being your basic electronics, going through school for that, and then going through the radar school. And then that portion of the school didn't work out, but I ended up becoming a radio repairman. So that school took 6 more months, and then, which I'm glad happened, because that MOS allowed me to go anywhere in the Marine Corps. Every unit needed a radio repair guy and a radio operator. So it was awesome that happened. So that allowed me to get to Camp Pendleton where I wanted to go. But yes, I did spend 2 years in 29 Palms, which is, to credit, helped me in a lot of ways too, because it's the desert training, the heat, the cold, and being in that austere environment helped me, mold me who I am today. Everybody hates 29 Palms, but back then it was a lot worse than it is today, though, as far as accommodations.
How old were you when you knew you were going to join the service?
I was probably 8, 9 years old at the time.
What do you think was the motivation behind it?
I used to watch war movies. So there was only like 3 TV networks back in the day, and there was black and white TVs, or, the huge color ones. My mom used to have to work on weekends and sometimes the weekdays or whatever, and I get stuck with babysitters during the summer or on the weekends when she had to work, and they would always just repeat the old World War II movies, and you would watch the Sands of Iwo Jima or all the war movies that John Wayne at the time that was just on repeat. I was like, that's what I want to do. And then I had my uncle, of course, tell me stories, and he was in Vietnam.
Mom and dad encouraging of you to join the service?
Not at all. This was all driven by me. Like, neither one of them, my mom, I'm sure, didn't want me to, because her own brother, actually all of them, her brothers had served at one point either in the Navy, the Army, or the Marines. My uncle was the only one that did the Marines. And he got wounded, like seriously injured, helicopter crash. He was a crew chief on a helicopter that medevaced and during Vietnam, and he saw a lot of wild stuff. And he got injured and he came home. My mom was definitely afraid that I would end up being that way. And she remembers the horror stories of, veterans coming home from Vietnam and just not being a good time. And then Desert Storm happens. I'm in high school. America's patriotic. But again, yeah, it's your mom. But no, my parents never encouraged me to do that. They saw it as a way.
Did they ever try to discourage you, like as you got closer and it was time?
No, not at all. I was turning 20 in boot camp, and there was just no way. I mean, I explained to them, I don't have a job here. I don't have my sense of ownership and feeling right now in my life of what I'm doing. I want to go do my thing. I'll have a steady paycheck, a roof over my head, food every day, and I'm guaranteed a job for 6 years. At that point, I'll make up my mind what I'm going to do. So no, I wasn't encouraged by my parents at all. This was all self-driven by me. I knew that you could get college money, that you can have you can excel. And I knew who I was at the time. I needed a kick in the ass. I needed to be told what to do every day. I needed the structure of being around solid people every day. Not that I was a lunatic or crazy or wasn't, breaking the law all the time. It was just, I knew where I was. I wasn't going to be able to get a job where I was going to put food on the table, have a nice apartment, have the things that I wanted. So, and live the way I wanted to. So in order to do that, I needed a place to go to sacrifice to get where I wanted to go. And then I knew the Marine Corps could provide that, the structure and man, you get to go shoot guns every day. Are you kidding me? And wear camouflage? I'm down. And you get paid to do it. And you get paid to work out. So I was like, well, all right, sign me up. Why not?
Now, in the 2 year, because you graduated but did not go in right away.
Correct.
You went and did the junior college thing. What was the reasoning? If you knew you wanted to go in the service, what was the reasoning for wanting to take that little hiatus break?
To see what it was like not having that structure, meaning when you're in high school, you have to go to school every day. When you're in college, you don't have to, but you're paying for these classes, and then you should go and make the best of it. I just want to know what it was like to be on my own. I wanted to go pay rent, live with my roommates, see what real life looked like before or after high school, being on your own, and before I decided to go be an adult, just to see what was out there. What is everybody else doing? What are they not doing? What's the struggle? And looking back, I'm giving the answer of looking back, and it's the struggle. How much ass pain do you want to deal with? How much responsibility do you want? How much are you self-driven? To go to, how patient are you to do it? I was very impatient at that time, to be honest with you. I wanted out and be on my own and not having people tell me what to do, which is ironic because when you join the Marine Corps, people are telling you what to do every day. But I made that choice, like you said.
Right.
So I was okay with it. I was comfortable with that in those parameters of telling me what to do every day. So
in those 2 years you were out, how did you keep from basically becoming kind of that surf bum?
Location. Number one, I lived in Gainesville, Florida, so it's far enough away. And then my parents were living in Jacksonville, Florida. They were an hour and a half away too. So it was kind of a trifecta pyramid of travel to see each and every one of them. And I had a standard of living that I didn't want to go to, like being a beach bum. I didn't want to be on somebody's couch. I didn't want to not have my own place. I didn't want to be frowned on. I knew who I didn't want to be, but I also knew where I wanted to go. And so when you say beach bum, I'm assuming I have, how can I put this? Memories of people who lived in Jack's Beach and who were kind of like that, bouncing around, drugs got a hold of them or the wrong people. It was just a rough life. They were roofing or doing construction or doing these things, not really getting anywhere. And I didn't want to be like that. And that's easy to do. And some people are still doing that to this day, and they look rough, and they're not. I'm not saying they're not happy, but when they reflect on their life, I don't have that problem. I'm totally proud of what the decision I made and where I've been, and with all the mistakes that I've made. But I'm living comfortable now because I chose to go a harder path to have an easier life later.
I had a former guest who is, well, probably now retired, but firefighter. He was on the verge of, right at the verge of retirement when he was here. His story was he found surfing, and he said it a lot like you did. He's like, man, once I found it, that was my love.
Yeah.
And he did everything he could to surf, blew off school, blew off jobs, and it was only because he was working a job one day and two guys that he would regularly surf with, he finally started going, wait a minute, you guys are always surfing, but you also have brand new trucks and you're not out here busting your ass roofing or whatever you're doing. And they went, yeah, we're firefighters. I'm like, oh. And so it was just that freak opportunity where he happened to meet somebody who's like, wait a minute, I can do a quality job, get paid well, and have the time to go surfing. Sign me up.
So that's kind of what I did too. It evolved into that. I didn't always have that time. The Marine Corps and your job and your life and your family, whatever may take it, but it was always there for me to fall back on. to go and as an inspiration to keep going. So
when you got in, were you dialed in enough, or was the, I mean, there's no one who's going to say boot camp was easier, but I mean, was it a shock to the system, or were you kind of already dialed in a little bit?
mentally or physically?
Physically and mentally. How was it for you?
Oh, physically, I was ready. I mean, I only weighed like 130 pounds. It wouldn't, I was a physical person in shape already, and I just excelled when I got there. I wasn't the top guy, but I was on the top percentage physically. I think it's a shock because you have your platoon and you're getting yelled at by your drill instructor, and you think, man, this sucks. I want to go to a different platoon. And then I remember the buildings are shaped like an H, and in the middle is where where the H comes together. That's where all the heads, the bathrooms are all at. And then I remember being able to creep down and look, and the other guys were in just as much ass pain as I was. I was like, I'm staying right here. Because, I mean, why change to go over there when these are my guys, this is my platoon now. They're going through as much pain as I am too, so there's no escaping it. So just get through it, number one. I'm still friends with my bunkmate to this day, and to our squad leader, or our guide. We were in high school together, so I still stay in touch with those guys back home. Mentally, it just got me tougher. The regiment every day, I was actually a squad leader in boot camp, so that helped too. So it gave me a sense of purpose or a sense of responsibility right off the bat to focus on everything that they were teaching us. When we would give a class, I would read about the Congressional Medal of Honor guys, and we'd have a Green Monster history book you'd have to read through. And while they were giving the class on uniform regs or this or that, I'm drifting off reading the Congressional Medal of Honor guys and what they did, whether it's World War I, Vietnam, or World War II, that they all went through. And I'm like, wow, it's huge.
Now, you mentioned you went on your first contract was a 6-year contract.
Yes.
Where I'm going with this is, did you know that you wanted to go towards the communications route, or did that have to be sold on you? And signing up for the 6-year contract, that's also not the norm. How did that whole process end up?
So I ended up, I was assigned to be a radar tech. And then while I was going through that school, I didn't do so well towards the end. I got all the way to the MOS school, and for whatever reason, I got orders to Yuma, Arizona, and I think that just it deflated my tires, and I was like, ugh. So I just wasn't focused on it. So I ended up not doing well, and they removed me from that school and put me in the radio repair one, a repair school. Now, my grandfather he loved AM radios. He loved doing all that stuff when he was a young man, which my dad told me about it after the fact, like doing the TTY, Morse code type stuff, and then doing the AM radios and doing the antenna and trying to tune in and talk to other people. I didn't know that my father's dad was into that. So it's kind of funny that I ended up doing that same thing in the Marine Corps. I drifted towards it, but it's because I like doing electronics. I like figuring that stuff out, and I was really good at it. So when it just kind of came naturally, it just one of those things that, okay, you're not going to do this anymore, but we have this opportunity here. I grabbed it, took it, and allowed me to go to any, like I said, unit in the Marine Corps. My first unit was with the Air Wing, and then the next one was with the Grunts, which I was like, oh yes, I get to go play with the Grunts for a while. And it was amazing. I learned a lot. I was an NCO during that time frame, and it was amazing. Loved it. So it got that particular pivot point was to get to the Grunts, and I loved it.
Going back, though, you talk about being a grunt. Was there, having watched all those old war pictures and everything, was that not your motivation to just be a grunt?
Oh no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use the skills mentally that I had to do something different. Because a Marine, you're always a rifleman, so that was the basic skill. If you wanted to go and that's all you wanted to do was be that guy, I didn't want to do that. I mean, anyone could do that. They can get trained to do that, but I wanted a skill that I could use if and when I got out of the Marine Corps. 'Cause I had no plan to stay past 6. So I wanted to go in knowing that I could have a trade when I got out that I was already trained on, and then be able to go to school and also but still have a job and maintain that and get a high paying job when I got out. But I remember not ever thinking doing 23 years. It just, the first one was supposed to be what it was.
So you went in what year?
93.
So 99, what caused you to re-enlist? You were kind of right in between the Gulf War and OIF, or
Yep.
OEF.
Yeah, that is
OIF,
so,
OEF.
yeah. So I had a son, and my marriage was not successful to his mother. And I knew it would be hard to get custody of my child and get out of the Marine Corps and move back to the state of Florida, which is where my family was at the time, still is. So, and the Marine Corps, I loved it at the time, and they were offering a bonus to stay in of $20,000. So I was like, I could re-enlist, stay, pay off my bills, and then go on and continue. So that's exactly what I did. And I enjoyed it. I was getting ready to get promoted I was already at a sergeant, E5, and our MOS was opening up. People were retiring and the promotions were getting ready to come. And our follow-on school, when you re-enlist and you're a sergeant, you go to a follow-on school back to 29 Palms, as a matter of fact, where you're there for a year, and then you get a new MOS designation, and then you end up coming back to the fleet and you run your own maintenance shop. So I had done 6 years at that point, and I was ready to run, and I was already running the shop, but I had a staff sergeant above me, and I was like, man. And then sometimes there are certain people above you that you're like, you poke the bear to them and then you get slapped a little bit. So I was like, all right, I want to be in his shoes. So that's my motivation. I have my son, number one, to provide for him, because I was going to be a single parent at the time. I was going through a divorce and I had custody of him, and I wanted to make sure he was taken care of. So that was one pivot point, but it was also a positive one, because now I was motivated for another 4 years and inspired to do a really good job and take care of my kid and provide for him. And he's 28 today, and he's an amazing dude.
Now, at the end of that 4 years, you're at the 10-year mark. Is that when you decide, all right, I'm staying in and making it a career?
Oh, yeah. Once I did the first time, I was staying in and making it a career at that point. Because once you do that, you already know when you do that, you're at 10, it's game on. I mean, the benefits outweighed everything. And I was in a really good MOS. My job at the time, it's still a good job. The promotions, the availability to go whatever unit you wanted to go to was amazing. So I was like, I'm in it to win it. So let's go. And it was fabulous. I mean, I look back and say it's fabulous now, but the challenges at the time were amazing as well. And I knew what I was getting into.
How many different units did you end up getting assigned to?
I want to say close to 9 total.
By choice, or you went looking like, all right, let me go play with that team?
Most of it was by choice. I was able to, I knew where my peers were. I knew when they were leaving, because the Marine Corps has a way of, you have MOL, Marine Online. You can see where all your MOS people are at. The people in your job, what rank they're at. And you knew that at your 2-year mark, the monitor was looking at you to move you. And me with my son, I got in good with the monitor. I knew who he or she was. And then I also knew when people were rotating, and also where I personally wanted to go, say Hawaii, or stay at Pendleton, but go to different units that were that would enable my career to go to the next level. So in 2002, when I think I reenlisted in 99, and then I had to reenlist again, and I found a way to get to First Force Reconnaissance Company. That was always a goal, to go to them, to get my jump wings and get to the rank of gunny. If I made gunny, that was it. But I got to First Force, and that was the first step. And that's right after 9/11. So I deployed with them for 4 years. I was with them for 4, and then deployed to Iraq twice with them, which was amazing.
Now, if you could have, would you have just stayed there for the duration of your career?
No. Only because what I love about the Marine Corps, it forces you to get out of your comfort zone and go to different units, and which is good. You need to do that. You can't sit in the same unit, because you'll become complacent, you'll get too comfortable, and you'll never push yourself or learn anything. So I stayed there for 4, which is longer than I should have been there. And I got promoted to gunny, because I was a staff sergeant the whole time I was there. And then I got promoted to gunny, and then I moved to Hawaii, which is good, because there I got 2 different units that I went to, met totally different peoples, totally different mission statements, and learned something totally different about everything, which was awesome. And so, anyone that thinks that they should stay, if they join the Marine Corps and stay in one unit the whole time, that's not good. You'll become stagnant. I would get bored doing that if I was me. I'd just be like, I got to go. And after 2 years, I was ready to go, but I wanted to stay there to deploy, and it was a good team. They were good people. A small unit command, and they're heavy hitters. They are professional warfighters, gunfighters. And I was like, I need to stay longer with these guys to learn more and to push myself. I think I matured more there at that unit than I did anywhere else, just because of the peer pressure. So, yeah.
So you leaving there after 4 years was more your decision than the Marine Corps' decision?
So it was a Marine Corps decision.
Oh, okay.
My time had been up. I had gotten promoted. So the one thing about the Marine Corps is you can't just stay there because you get promoted out of that position. So then you got to move on to bigger, better roles while somebody else, let other people, the younger guys come in and they get promoted and have that opportunity as well.
From the surfer perspective, was Hawaii your favorite?
No. So this is a funny story that's going to kind of throw the story off whack a little bit, is because during that time frame, I had started the surf club randomly, and it was just a bunch of hodgepodge NCOs and people meeting at the beach. I lived in a mobile home park on Camp Pendleton. It's kind of like low income housing, but it worked because I was a single dad and I needed the extra money. But the beach was literally a quarter mile away. So I would be there, and there's a bunch of other guys. We'd all meet. And so we'd meet once a month, and then we'd go surf.
Now, is this trailer park on Pendleton?
It was, yes.
Is the surfing good at that beach?
Oh, yeah. It's called Church Surf Break at San Onofre. So it's amazing. It's one break south of Lower Trestles, where they hold the professional contests at. So we started it, we're surfing. And at 2005 and 2006, I had put on 3 surf contests. One at DMJ's Del Mar Jetty at South End of Base, and then 2 up at Church. And I was burned out from surfing. Just not the physical portion of it.
The business side of it.
Correct. I mean, just in running the event, running the club, and getting burnt out from it, and running my, and then going through a child custody battle to be able to move, and deployments and all that. I was like, look, I just want to go away. And by getting to Hawaii, everybody thinks that Hawaii has waves all year round. It's just the island is surrounded by beach and surf, and that's not the case. There's only a few spots on the bay or on Oahu that are consistently breaking, or you go to where you're not getting, there's the crowds or the locals, or whatever the case may be. So I just went there as a whole fresh start for my son and I, not to have any issues, nothing. And that's what we did. Like I did triathlons, like you had mentioned earlier, running, doing half marathons, all that type of stuff. I just did different things to experience out there. Fishing, got my son, he was doing sports. He was playing football for a local team, keeping him in school, focused, just letting him be a boy. And living in Hawaii and trying to enjoy the islands for what they were, learning the history, learning the foods, things like that. Just everybody dreams of going to Hawaii, and we got there, and that's exactly what we did. We found a nice home outside of off base, right in Kailua. It was amazing. So we just enjoyed it. So I didn't surf that much there. I did, but it wasn't my focus at the time, just because life changes to do something different.
Were you able to stay there to allow your son to get through high school?
4 years we were there, from 06 to 09. He came back. We moved here to Temecula, actually, and he started his middle school here and then started his high school here.
Coming to the end of your career, you did 23 years.
23 years, yes.
Why not do 30?
There were, watching people above me, that had come in before me, staying till 30 or doing more than 20, there's more to life than the Marine Corps. When you do 30 years, that's half of your life that you spent doing that. The last I was at a unit, it was my last unit. I was a master sergeant at the time. And if I'm going to back it up a little bit, the Marine Corps had been fighting 2 wars at the time.
This October 28th and 29th, the Military Officers Association of America is bringing together 3,000 voices, military leaders, warfighters, veterans, and families at National Harbor in Maryland for their inaugural conference, Total Force Plus. This isn't just another military conference. It's a mission to advance solutions for our military and veteran community, including leadership development, quality of life, military transition, and maximizing the veteran's experience. It's all on the table. This is where the next generation of military solutions will be tackled, at the first and only military conference where people outrank everything. And because the mission is so important, MOA is making attendance free for those who are currently serving, the spouses of those currently serving, and all federal employees within the DoD and VA. Secure your seat now, as tickets are limited and offered on a first-come, first-served basis. Visit TotalForcePlus.org to see if you qualify for your free ticket and to register for the conference.
And when you take your Marines, same for first responders, cops as well, then when you put them on the streets or you put them in combat situation and then you pull them back again, tell them to get in the cage, act like a civilian, behave. Okay, now we're going to take you out of the cage and go put you back out there. Okay, come back, put you in the cage, so to speak, not a literal cage. And then have you engage as a normal person is not okay. And there was leadership at the time that thought that was okay and that that's what was supposed to happen without taking that into consideration, but still trying to maintain Marine Corps standard. And people weren't taking that psychological effect into play. So we as senior leaders had to know everything about our Marines. And if they did one thing wrong, it was our fault. If they got a DUI, where were you? Why weren't you in there? If there's a problem in the barracks, why weren't you taking care of the barracks? It's like, and my leadership style wasn't like that. My job is, as a master sergeant or a senior gunny or a first sergeant or sergeant major, is you delegate that authority to the young leadership, like we had talked about before with General Krulak was in, the NCOs, you police your own. And that's how I was with my platoon. Here's the standard. You're an above average citizen. This is what I expect of you. And if you want to make a selfish decision to drink and drive or to have an altercation with your family or to go out and do something you know is against the law and you do it anyway, well, that's a reflection upon you, not upon us. And so, but our command at the time was like, no, that's a reflection upon you. And I was emotionally just worn out just from that factor. And then I had my own personal things with my son at the time that he's getting older. He's a teenager and still fighting with his mother for custody, things of that nature. So it had come to the point where I didn't want to have to do that. And I knew that I was going to have to, if I got promoted again, that I was going to have to leave California. They were going to give me orders. They're like, man, you've been hiding out at Camp Pendleton too long. So either Okinawa, Twin Palms, Lejeune, or Yuma was in my future. And I was like, and I didn't want that to be, I didn't want to have to say no. So I had been preparing myself from, from a gunny when I really wanted to get out. And so I had prepared, because you're helping your Marines at the same time. Even though you're in, there are Marines that are underneath your charge that are coming and going all the time. They did their 4 years, and your job is to assist them. If they don't want to stay in, I'm going to help you get out. Meaning, there's a program that the Marine Corps has for you to transition out. TRS transition readiness program to get you out. And so I would help them. I mean, I'm not in a bad way, like, bro, that's your choice. You go on and make sure you do what you got to do. And so for me, I just think the same thing. I needed to prepare mentally, physically, and for the requirements to get out as well. So I did, and then to get back to your question of why didn't I stay 30? Watching my older peers do it, there was no more challenges. You're just showing up and you weren't really doing anything. You weren't engaging with the Marines anymore. You weren't really influencing them anymore. You are now out of it and you were with a major or lieutenant colonel you're up high level. You're no longer down here. And I didn't really want to do that. So promotion.
Did you ever get the opportunity to go the officer route?
I could have applied to be a warrant officer, but I didn't really want to do that. I was like, the process and the politics of it all. And then I just chose not to, but in our MOS, when you get promoted to gunny or master, and you're working with a warrant officer, a young one or a senior one. And that's what I love too. By the time I got promoted to gunny and I was working in my field, it was a warrant officer that was with me or a lieutenant, and we were close. Like I have a lot of close friends that became warrant officers and we worked together. And then also my communications officers, I'm friends with a lot of them still today. Super close.
Do you think if you in reading the tea leaves, if you would have stayed in longer, you knew you would have been bumped out of Pendleton? But if there was a chance that you could have stayed, do you think you would have just stayed in and done 30?
No. Which leads me, the question of getting out is I got a huge job opportunity. I was at a unit and the sergeant major of 1st Marine Division had said, hey, I want all my E8s and E7s to go to the transition program, go to the class so that you can properly educate your Marines on what that is. So that you know what's out there for them. What is this training program they got to go through before they exit the Marine Corps? So I did that. I went and did the one that every sergeant and below has to go through when they get out. And then they have one for staff NCOs. I went to that one so that I knew.
But merely just to gain knowledge to advise younger Marines
Correct.
Below you.
And for myself too, because I also knew at that time frame I could be getting out at 20 years. That's my mark to be able, I could say I'm out. Just put my hand in the air, submit my paperwork and be able to go. And I wanted that opportunity. I wanted to make sure I was ready to go. I wanted to know what benefits were there for me, whether it was buying your VA to buy a home, which I already knew anyway, but what's your college availability? What do you actually get when you get out? What is your numbers going to be for your retirement check, for your VA claim? How did all that work so that when it came time for me, and I only had to worry about me. My son was already graduated high school. He was out doing his own thing, and I wasn't married. It's just me. What do I need to do to make sure I will be taken care of when I get out? So when I pull that trigger, I'm ready to go. So I'd already done that training, and it was amazing to learn all that and then be able to educate the Marines too on their exit strategy. Well, did you think about this when you get home? Did you think about this? When did you think about this? Did you think about that? Oh, I got it, Master Sergeant, we're good. And then some ended up okay, some not. But I knew I didn't want to stay. There was more to life than doing that. I wanted to go experience something different. I wanted to take what the Marine Corps had given me, taught me, and go somewhere else and use that somewhere else. Much more to do, much more to share. There's a huge world out there, and I wanted to go see what it was about. What caused me to make a decision quicker rather than later was I was driving to work one day and coming in through the back gate. I was living here in Temecula, and I was going in the back gate through Fallbrook, and there was backed up traffic on one of the roads. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go back to division headquarters and talk to my boss up there, old boss, and see what's going on. And I happened to be sitting there with them, and the phone rang at my old desk, and the gunny that was sitting there at the time, he answered it. He goes, "Hey, Master Sergeant, there's a phone call for you." And I go, "Why are they calling me here? Like, I don't work here anymore." And it was a gentleman by the name of Paul Hancock, who was a former Amtracker, who had retired and was now running a contract to assist the AAVs with mods and ECPs, like just contractors, civilians, to make sure the continuity at that unit, which I was at before. And so I got on the phone with him, and he was like, "Hey man, your name's been thrown around a lot about possibly taking this job position that we have that's going to open up here and this was like April timeframe, and it was open in October of that same year, 2015. So I was like, all right, well, what is it? He goes, "Well, I'll send it to you." And when I read it, I was like, it was the almost verbatim of the description of my job on my fitness report that I had done when I was at that unit. I was like, I called him back up. I go, "Did you like rob this from my fitness report or something? Because this is exactly what I used to do. And you mean to tell me that if I get this job, that this is what I get to do every day and I don't have to worry about Marines?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Okay." So I went back home, did some research. I called the monitor who happened to be my friend. I go, "Hey man, I sent him that job." He goes, "Bro, if you don't take this, you're not smart. I mean, you're dumb if you don't take this." And I go, "Well, dude, you just gave me orders to another unit here on the base that I got to take." And he goes, "No, you don't. I'll extend the date line to your EAS. Therefore, you don't have to worry about it. You just have to submit your paperwork to retire." And I had already I was already ready to go. And I had already done the checkbook to get out, or checking the box to get that transition training done. So now it's just a matter of getting it done correctly and submitted and in time and go from there. So it had actually worked out.
From the outsider, real quick, and this has always been something that's interested me. As far as what's your commitment, any branch of the service, if you're in the middle of an enlistment, or like you mentioned, if you get to a certain point, how long would it have required you to stay in if he had not extended your timeline for your EAS?
I would have been, so I'd already met the requirements for my job, my rank. So when you, for example, if you're at your 19-year mark and you get selected to Master Sergeant, well, you are automatically obligated for 2 years. So I had already met all that. I had been a Master Sergeant for 4 years. I was probably 18 months out from being in the zone for Master Guns for the next promotion. And I was already in the middle of my enlistment. So I was like, I wasn't worried. I knew I had the flexibility to drop papers and go when and wherever I wanted. I kind of created that window of opportunity because you watch and learn what other people did or didn't do. And I was always taking notes of what to do. Always asking, "Why are you getting out?" "Well, my family," or "I've got this job and I didn't want to stay in," or "I got orders to this." And I knew you just have to pay attention. It's kind of like, if, for example, in the armed or in your job, for example, you knew everybody around you. You knew when their time was up that they need to be transferred out, or they shouldn't stay in this job too long because they get burned out. So they should go do this job. I knew I need to be always ready for the next level. So in case something happened, I was agile enough to go somewhere else if I didn't want to do it.
I think one of the things that I've always said, now that I look back on my career, that I wish the first responder community would mirror the military community is instead of getting hired January 1, 2025, put that piece of paper in your file, check back with us in 20 or 30 years, you can retire. And there's no mandatory reevaluation of your career per se. Whereas in the military, whether it's a 4-year enlistment or a 6-year, hey, you need to reevaluate. Do you want to keep playing on this team or do you want to get out? And I think for some men and women in the first responder community, that might be a good thing for them because a lot of them get to a point where they feel stuck and they're like, well, now I'm here for 20 years or I'm here for 30 years, whatever it is. And they don't feel that they have, it's not that they don't feel that they have the ability to. I think they're fearful of, well, what can I do or what will I do if I walk away from this? Whereas the military gives you that opportunity. Hey, reevaluate your life. Where are you at right now in your life? Is something better out there or is it better to stay here?
That is true. What I would say one of the main differences, though, in your particular field you're speaking of, would be that the people that they work for, that particular chain of command, the politics may be a little bit more deeper than what the Marine Corps has, because in the Marine Corps, it's always shifting.
Right.
It's not driven by politics. It's driven by, can we get a body in that seat and can that person do that job? He got promoted to be there, and so there's a person assigning them to be there, and he's only going to be there for 3 years, or she, and then the next person comes in, and the next person comes in. Maybe in the field that you're referring to is the people that are above them don't ever move, and they're subject to what those people think of them in order to leave or to go where they need to go.
Well, I was just having this conversation the other day because one of the comments that comes up when I talk to and hear primarily the law enforcement side, I don't hear this as much from the fire side, is people talk, especially today, bad administrations. Administrations are not backing their people. The thing you got to understand, though, is you go find perfect PD, whatever it is, and get hired today. You understand that chief, or if it's a sheriff's department, that sheriff may not be the chief or the sheriff in a year from now, 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
The next one coming in may not keep the same culture, may not have the same commitment to their people.
It's personality driven.
Are you going to jump ship every single time there's a new administration?
Because it gets uncomfortable.
You know?
I had many leaders that made me feel very uncomfortable, but that got me out of my comfort zone. And that's why when you ask, why didn't I stay longer? You shouldn't stay longer. You get in that comfort zone and then you're not pushing yourself. You become unhappy. You're not growing and evolving as a human being. So I'm glad that I got put in certain situations where I was out of my comfort zone a lot.
So this job opportunity you got, what was it? What would you or what were you specifically doing with it? I know you said it mirrored your fitness report, but what was the job?
So on active duty, when I was at this particular unit, I was in charge of the communication electronics maintenance for all radio assets within these vehicles. It was the largest mechanized unit in the Marine Corps. And so when you do that, you got all the personnel you got to deal with, you have all the equipment you're dealing with, and mods and people coming and going, the whole thing. Same thing. All I had to do, though, was concentrate on the equipment and train the Marines on that equipment. And when modifications or engineering change proposals came out from the program office, I facilitated that to the Marines and I worked side by side with them. But I came in at 08 and I went home at 1600. I didn't stay and have to deal with counselings. I didn't have to stay and deal with people's attitudes. I was like, you don't want to learn it? Fine. I'm not the one going to combat anymore. This is for you. I'm here for you. Literally. I've done time on active duty in this unit. I've turned wrenches on these vehicles. I know that equipment because I put it in there. Now I'm coming back to help you. I know where the skeletons are buried. I know where the bodies are buried for this. Here, let me help you and teach you what I wasn't able to teach other people before because of where I was at on the ring. So that job opportunity came up and I did everything. I put my paperwork in and retire. I refinanced my house here in Temecula at the time, put a renter in it, bought a new condo and started a new job and retired from the Marine Corps all in a matter of 4 months.
That's not stressful at all.
No, it's like jumping off a cliff and find a parachute on the way down and hopefully you land skidding in and having fun with it. And that's exactly what I did, which is, I'm glad that I found you, Paul, because I wanted to be able to share that experience because everybody talks about getting out and then the transition drill. My drill was fire hose. which by choice, not because of, it got forced upon me. It was by choice, but I did it I wanted to change my life and do what I want to do to continue doing Eric Franklin stuff and find out who Eric Franklin was. And the transition of getting out of the Marine Corps, there was a commander that I had at Third Tracks from 2011 to 12, and he talked about getting left of the blast. When an IED goes off, it's too late. What can we do to prevent that blast from occurring? In this particular instance, the blast meaning you making a bad decision, or the Marine Corps or life giving you that decision for you or forcing that. So I looked at that when he told me that. How can I apply that in everyday life? How can I apply that to my life? How can I share that with Marines? And I had a combo goes, anticipation plus preparation equals agility. So if you can anticipate something happening, then you can prepare for that. And when it comes, then you're agile enough to adapt to that and then move on and be successful from that without it hindering you, stopping in place and not continuing forward in your life or that mission. I thought that was a very effective statement. And we used that in our platoon in 2010 on the MEU training up to go out. So from 2010 and then using that and then having that commander after that told me get left of the blast was like, okay, what are we doing to prepare so that when we go into combat, we already know that all these contingencies could happen. Are we agile enough to, as they explode, to get through them and still complete the mission? So in my own life, when I was sitting here telling you that I went through the transition school or the class that they gave us, preparing mentally by taking notes to who, as the young Marines, my peers and older guys got out, and women, what were they going through? What did they do? What were they planning to do? Where were they going back to? Were they getting a job? Were they just going to not do anything and just live off of their retirement? They were that successful and saved that much money. Where were their medical? Where were they at in their psyche? Were they injured? Did they have PTSD? I profiled these people so that when I was trying to get out, I knew what to expect. So I was getting left of that blast as much as I could to prepare for that transition out. But I wanted to get out. I didn't want to stay 30. I didn't need to. You only got 2.5% on your VA when you got out, or your retirement check when you got out anyway, every year you stood. Well, what if I didn't want to get up at 05 and shave every day and put the camouflage uniform on every day and deal with these same people every day? What if I want to go do something different? So I prepared for that transition to get out. Luckily, I surrounded myself with a few good friends that had already gotten out and had experienced the mental side of it and the physical side of getting out that helped me tremendously. The first 2 years, or the last 2 years in the Marine Corps, I met or reconnected with a close buddy, and he had gotten out in 2013 and I got out in 2015. But during that 2 years, he was sharing with me what he was going through, what he had done financially with his money, had an investor, which I did. I followed the same footsteps of put your money away, be good with your money, live within your means, and whatever it is you're feeling, experience it. Take it in. Don't fight it, because it's going to help you grow. He's like, man, you're going to have these feelings. You're going to see these people going through this, doing this. You're going to have heartbreaks. You're going to have relationships that aren't going to work, because he was single at the time. So was I. We were just running, being single, good looking men, North County, surfing, and you're going to get out and everything's going to come to a halt. One day you're going to go and he shared this with me too, because he was a unit on base. He got out and he had gone back in like 18 months later, and everybody was running around doing their thing. Hey, Bo, and he couldn't go into the workspace because he no longer had his clearance. He just couldn't walk in there like he could, and it was only reporting. He realized the green machine does not stop. It keeps moving. Somebody replaced me. Somebody's still running and gunning. Somebody's still pulling the trigger, but it's just not me. And I was like, wow, you're right. I'm not that important. I'm important to me, but not to, if I walked back in, those Marines would, a year later, they wouldn't even know who the hell I was and wouldn't even care. So, which is fine. You come to that conclusion and you have to realize, dude, it's just you now. And it's okay. You no longer have to worry about the morning report. You no longer have to worry about when you walk in an inspection looking at Marines uniforms anymore. You don't have to look at vehicle readiness anymore, or someone coming in, hey, how come your Marine didn't salute? How come you're, just the little things here and there that you were attentive to, but now you don't have to do anymore. So that intensity level gets dropped way down, but that energy level is still there. What do you do with this? And so some people turn to drinking, some people turn to drugs, some people turn to, they dive into sports really good. Like, so they'll end up extreme sports, whether it's triathlons or hiking, or they move to a certain area and that's what they dive into. They take that, or their career or their family or those things. And that's what people should do. And I try to do all of it, meaning, you get out, can't sleep. So I don't like doing prescription drugs. So I used edibles to be able to sleep. Worked. Probably drank too much, but not to excess to where I got in trouble. It didn't take over my life or my career. I think sometimes it's been 10 years, I'm still transitioning. So I just got married and I have a 6-month-old. So, that's a whole 52 years old. What are you doing?
Was it a struggle though, once you were out and as a civilian, or did you find that, well, let me put it this way. Did you miss being a Marine once you were out?
Oh, I'm still a Marine today. And I mean that, it's a cliche that people always use. My job was still working with Marines every day. Like I would go into work, they were still there. Some of them still remembered me from back in the day. And then I met the new ones and the ones that knew me told the young ones, that's the dude. When there's a problem, go to that guy. He'll help you, which felt good. So I had that purpose there. There were times where
What is the grind? It's not just a routine, but the decision we make to wake up, give everything we've got, then find a way to go further. Grind, spelt GRND, is more than a brand. It's a movement, an emotion we all feel connected to as we work daily to pursue our goals and support each other. Founded by a former Army Ranger, Grind Activewear has a clear mission to give 100% and then some more in sport, fitness, and in life. Functional, high-quality performance wear that's rooted in American culture, because you demand gear that outworks the rest. Whether you're on the field, in the gym, or building your own lane, Grind is for those who refuse to settle. Go check out the Grind Collective, that's the grndcollective.com, and tap into something bigger than clothing. And while you're there, use the promo code TRANSITION15 to get 15% off your purchase.
Now I was out, I'm just doing my own thing, and I had to deal with civilians, like say out in town, or I'm hanging out with my buddies that were never in the Marine Corps, or meet new people, or you're in a restaurant, you're at an event, you're at a crowd, and you're like, man, I'm so glad I did the Marine Corps instead of being out here doing this. Then there's other instances, like being in a crowd. Nope, don't like doing it. For whatever reason, I'm always like this, head on a swivel, going to a restaurant. It's true. We put our backs to a wall so we can see everywhere. We do know where the exit is. We know where the front door is. And we're always eyeballing people. I've still stayed with the Marine Corps, so I don't know if I've truly been able to I don't go to work anywhere else. I tried it for 3 months and I'm like, I can't do this. So I went back to the current job I have now.
And it's on base at Pendleton?
Yes. Right there at Camp Del Mar on the ocean. And I live near the ocean. So it's the goals that I set for myself in high school, I've actually accomplished, and I'm living that dream now. And I have to remind myself of that. So when you ask me the civilian world, have I actually ever been a part of it? I don't think so, to be honest with you, just because of where my life has taken me, what I'm doing with the club, where I work, and the people I associate with. I have a hard time having conversations with some of the civilians that my wife's friends that she's introduced me to, and having conversations with them just because it's different. I mean, they're driven by quota, they're driven by real estate, they're driven by things that drive their life. Whereas for me, I worked for 23 years to gain a retirement income to where now my job is fun and I get to enjoy it and do things so that are different than what other people, like they're hoping they get to 65 and can retire without having to work. Think I'm doing okay. I just have to remind myself that I put myself here and I'm pretty good. Like I'm enjoying what I set myself up for. Then I should be blessed.
There's so much about what you did in your time in the Marine Corps that aligns with the message that I try to put out. The first and most important thing is that you knew you wanted to go into the Marine Corps, but you also knew I want to give my time, but get something out of it.
Yes.
And I think for me, that's one of the biggest messages I tell people. If you're interested in the first responder world, if you're interested in the military world, great, go do it. Have fun. There's a lot of great things and fun things you can do, but always be thinking, does this translate to the civilian world? You know, I mean, kicking doors is fun. There's not much need for it on the civilian side.
Nope.
So you're going to come to the end of your ride, whatever it is, 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then be going, well, shit, now what? And the other thing that you talked about that I think is really important is whether it was because you were told to go do it or you were motivated on your own, you learned about all of the aspects of transitioning out before it was ever time to do it. Because one of the things that I've heard, and this is definitely more from the veteran community, so many men and women, they get to a point where they just want out. That's it. That's their only objective. I'm just tired of doing this. They don't really know what they're going to do next. So they go to the TRS or the TAPS program, whatever it is, but they sit there going, but I don't know what I want to do. So the guy talking about doing a resume goes in one ear and out the other. And then it's 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road that they're going, shit, what did they say in that class? Because they didn't know what they wanted. You need to be thinking about what you're doing today, but what you're going to be doing tomorrow, and make even just little steps towards preparing for it. And then, like you said, and this is the question I wanted to ask is, when that position was created, the civilian position was created, had you previously worked with the guy that called you, or was it simply based on your reputation that he called you?
I think it was both. I watched him as I had left that unit in 2013. They had just brought on the civilians to help do those things, and they didn't have a comm guy yet. They just had guys to do the physical, mechanical side. He would walk through our office a couple times, but the people that were there before, he had to reach to find people that would know that. And there was a guy that had replaced me after me was there. He didn't want the job. And so he was, well, who else could do this? Who else could do it? And my name kept popping up. Well, there's that dude, there's that guy. And so luckily he called me because here I am 10 years later, and I'm happy. And it was a good transition. It was a good job to continue. The pay is good. So yeah, it was good. I knew him briefly, but we weren't handshaking friends or anything else like that, but he knew of me and my reputation of giving a crap about the vehicles and giving a crap about the Marines and their training. I think that's what he heard the most. And so that's why he called me, because you don't want to put just somebody to fill the job. You want somebody that you know that's going to show up and you don't have to worry about. And that's luckily still there. So I didn't screw up too bad, apparently. But a point you brought up too, when you're talking about people that they just want to get out, that kind of turns into the victim mentality. And that's what I've seen too in the military and through the Marine Corps, the young people, and they become the victims and they blame the Marine Corps because they didn't get either what they wanted or a turn of events occurred to where they have to deal with it. And the Marine Corps didn't go in the route that they wanted it to go. And the Marine Corps is an entity. It operates like a business does. You just don't get money out of it. You get the intangibles out of it. And that's what people forget. You get out of the Marine Corps what you put into it. And that's what I tried to do. I just tried to suck the marrow out of the Marine Corps as much as I could, meaning whatever opportunity was there to get promoted, to get more physically fit, mentally tougher. And there were times I failed miserably at all that. I had a staff sergeant just, lighten me up. I had gunnies lighten me up. I had my peers lighten me up just because I failed. I was either distracted or I didn't give 110% like I was supposed to. I failed miserably a lot, but that made me learn, hey, dude, you need to be a better team member. You need to be a better team player. You need to show up and give like they are. Why are you not doing that? So other people would say, we'll just quit and be like, all right, I don't want to do this. And that's that victim mentality that I think we see a lot today. So you brought up the first responders, why they don't want to do some of those things. Comfort zone.
Oh, the comfort zone is the worst for a couple reasons. One, you talk about physical fitness. It still boggles my mind that the greater majority, the absolute majority of law enforcement and first responder entities have no physical fitness requirement after you get out of the academy. No annual PFQ, nothing. And so the comfort level sets in, and that's when you see the men and women who are completely out of shape. And I'm not saying you need to be, triathlete, just a basic level of fitness gets you by. Then the other thing about comfort is once you get to a certain point for many entities, well, you can't fire me. As long as I don't do anything extremely stupid, you can't fire me.
That's the Marine Corps too.
And so
lots of military as well too.
They get into this cruise mode where their career is they're just below that radar, or just above, whatever you want to call it. They're doing just enough to not get fired. And then they come to the end and they've got this mentality of, well, why isn't somebody giving me a job? What are you bringing to the table?
Exactly. What are you bringing to the table? I see it too. It's
human nature. It's humans.
Correct. And if you go just compare our lives from now, go back 100 years, what it was like then to what it is now. Just in the 52 years I've been on the planet, we went from 3 TV stations to now you got Netflix, you got every, phones. I mean, just technology level. 100 years ago, you didn't have indoor plumbing in some places where you lived. You didn't have electricity. things were just limited. Now you can just click on a phone and have things delivered to your house in a matter of seconds.
But what's also weird,
the comfort level
is then just yesterday watching the news, and they've actually declared it a famine in Gaza. And you're like, it's 2025, people. How are we still having famine?
Farm Aid, and what's the one, the Live Aid or something like that was going on in the 80s and 90s where they'd have the huge concerts. So, there's enough food on the planet now to feed everyone.
Yeah.
There should be no famine.
It's weird. We are in the Western world, we definitely live in a very protective bubble. And we don't see how the rest of the world.
More so in Southern California.
Yes.
The utopian society is totally true here in a way.
Let's focus on the Pendleton Surf Club aspect. So you actually started it before you ever got out. I assumed it was something that you had started after you got out.
True. So in the early 2000s, as we were talking about earlier, I moved into this trailer park in 2000. Beach was right there. And my neighbors, they surfed. And then by going down to the beach, met a bunch of other Marines, at active duty officers and enlisted. And so I just developed an email chain. Like I would get people to sign up. I would literally take cami netting and go sit on the beach, and people walk by and I'm like, hey, we're starting a surf club. Can you sign up? And I just started the email base. And then so when we would start meeting once a month.
What was the objective of wanting to start a surf club?
Just to get us all together. Go surf, take over the point. We're all out there together. As it was crowded, the surf break gets crowded, and we're not the only ones that are there. I'm probably at the young time as a sergeant, kind of a bully. And I was like, hey, let's go bully these guys out of here, because they would civilians, surfers, taking over the break. And I was like, well, come on, it's our beach. Let's get over there and let's show them what we got in a way. But then also come together, meet everybody's families. Our kids went to school together. We were in units together. Why not help each other on and off, in and out of the water with our careers, our families, spend time together, have friends, a social networking basically, but you just didn't call it that then. You just got together. And so we did that, and it grew. And then I wanted to be able to host a contest or two. So I ended up doing that in 2005 and 2006. But during that whole time frame from 02 to 06, people were deploying. I deployed twice. We had people coming and going. We had people dying, people not coming home. We had, wives and families being destroyed because of going to combat. The whole world at that time on Camp Pendleton and Lejeune and everybody we did our best to maintain our families, ourselves, and still do our job and keep our heads about us without losing it. And I think surfing was the biggest thing that saved me because even when Iraq, I would put posters up in our our living quarters to be reminded of what we love to do and our family back home. So I started that. We did the competition on 2005 and 2006, and then I got orders to Hawaii in 2006. But I didn't do anything with it for those 3 years because it wasn't official. I didn't have a website. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. There was no social media at the time, so it was by word of mouth. And computers were just now coming online, and it was just you just had email, and that was it. There was no couldn't post it here, post it there. So then in 2011, 2010, when I came back, I kind of started it a little bit. Met a good group of guys, and we had gotten T-shirts made. But we had called ourselves the DMJ's crew, and we were down at Del Mar Jetty, and we would meet as often as possible. And then in 2014 and 15, did the same thing, contests again. And I got burned out again. I was retiring from the Marine Corps at the time. I was trying to have a relationship with a lady who had 2 daughters, just having a personal life at the time, basically. Just a lot going on. And I was like, all right, I'm done. So in 2014 or 15, after I retired, I was like, I just want to surf, transition out, have zero responsibility. And then I had a buddy, Carlos, that I would see all the time, surfing here and there. And like, man, when are you going to start the club up again, man? We need you. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? I go, why don't you do it? And he goes, man, that ain't for me. That's all you, bro. You started it. And so in 2020, right as COVID hit, I had already bought the T-shirts, got the website going, and I'd observed a couple of the local longboarding clubs, Swami's, Oceanside Longboarding Club, Doheny, and then participated with some of them on what they were doing so that I could structure it like they had structured it. I had become a volunteer on the California Surf Museum board member. I was also the HOA president in my condominium complex. So setting up the rules and the regs and the structure.
Oh, you're one of those people.
Well, but don't get me going on the HOA, man. I did a lot of good things. I wasn't the enforcer. I just wanted to
I'm going to end the interview right now.
elevate the property level. But having the structure there of how to start a nonprofit, how to start a club, how to dot the I's and cross the T's and have it all legitimate, that I did all my homework, like a pure Marine should do. Get in there, learn it, and then go on and do something else with it. So that's what I did. In 2020, website got started. I spent the money on shirts, hats, so it looked good, and had everything on the bins. We started it up, and we've been consistent with since then, meeting once a month. I got up with the Surfing Madonna Oceans project. Before that, I think I was helping them in 2014 and 15 when I retired. During the summer, I would go help them. So I took that and got active duty and veterans to come be a part of that, of helping kids. So you become a selfless leader when you help other people. And you're volunteering in the community. It's huge when you do that. And then helping veterans. There was this VA summer sports clinic that's going on actually next week at La Jolla Shores. While I was on active duty, I got asked to come help and be a part of that for a week. Did that for many, many years afterwards, until COVID hit. And you get a sense of you get humbled quickly when you're helping other veterans who are disabled, meaning physically and mentally, or they're missing limbs or they're paralyzed, whatever you can imagine. But then getting them in the water, helping them through that, it's huge. And you're like, man, and for the kids too, you get that sense of, you get super grounded and humbled and grateful right away when you are giving something of yourself to others. So we incorporate that in the club as well to help give back to the community, and then helping each other, networking. You have your active duty young men and women that come from all over the United States that want to learn how to surf. We provide an opportunity to teach them in the water, but also where do you get your equipment from? The right equipment. Don't go buy this sleek board when you are going to be on the struggle bus with that for a long time. Hey, how about this? And then you find your way up. And then on the veteran side, you've got, or then just even active duty guys that are men and women who've been serving for a long time. We connect with them too, obviously. And then we just all come together and on and off our meetings. But then you have the veterans who, like myself, got out and have been surfing, but they got nowhere to go. They need somebody to talk to. Or you have people who have been serving or have not, but have gone. There's been a lot of organizations that have started since the wars have ended, because of PTSD, and surfing therapy is huge. And so they've started up, and people have been able to drift towards them and then find a home with us and them. And so we all collaborate together to assist each other in getting people in the water surfing and serving each other to help each other. And it's worked so far. I mean, there's a lot of people that get out, like we've talked about here, and didn't transition properly. And so they get lost, and they have family problems, they have marital problems, they drift to the things we talked about, drugs and alcohol, and then just go down a path, that destruction path. So which is one thing I want to talk to you about in a minute. People go all the way to the bottom. But we talk it out. There's people that come to us. I'm just one person, but there's a lot of people in the club that have little circles of groups of friends that they all have established, but we all come together and they help each other out. It drifts back to me and a couple other people that run the club and are senior leaders, I guess we could say, mentors of what they've gone through, what they were going through, and now surfing and the club has helped them get to a better place. So
the need is there, definitely the need. And one of the things that I've had the opportunity to talk to different people through the podcast is, if there's something that you really enjoy, there's a hobby of yours that you're passionate about, you can probably create a club around that and bring those veterans, those first responders together, because there's a group. Not everybody wants to surf.
Correct.
Not everybody wants to ride horses. But for the people who do, because like you talked about, you run into your buddy Carlos. Hey man, when are you gonna start the club back up again?
Yeah,
Why don't you do it?
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. There are a lot of people out there who have the ideas or would like to be part of something. They just don't have the commitment for whatever reason to be the one to lead it. And so if you've got that commitment, if you've got that drive, and you've got a hobby that you're interested in, consider starting a club in your local area. I think you'd actually be surprised.
And there's a lot of veterans groups now are starting to collaborate and come together, because there's a lot of them that just do hunting. There's ones that do fishing. There's ones that, like I said, surfing. Then there's the fishing. It depends on where you're at, of what is, like Idaho. I'm sure fishing locally is a huge one, just because there's more rivers and lakes that you can do that there. Ain't much surfing in Idaho. You know what I mean? So or you can go hunting there too.
There's the Potato Throwers Club.
Correct. And then, so I had a phone call with a gentleman as I went through this brain therapy where it's in Cardiff anyway. And there was a veterans group that was going through there. They were part of a trifecta where they would do the ayahuasca, then they would come do this, and then went through another treatment that was sponsored by a veterans organization that was nonprofit. And he got a hold of me. While I was in there, I gave stickers out to the staff, and they gave it to the veterans. And one of them came to me, and he is in contact with a nonprofit that does hunting. And then he contacted that guy, and he goes, "Hey, well, why don't you guys? I'll bring you, or I'll sponsor it. You guys just provide the location and the equipment and a place for them to stay, and we'll do that."
This episode is brought to you by Brothers in Arms USA. They're a veteran-owned and operated clothing and accessories brand that's 100% American-made. Every piece tells a story of brotherhood, respect, discipline, and honor. Deeply inspired by those who serve, those who have served, and those who have paid the ultimate price serving our great country. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a proud patriot, or simply somebody who values high-quality American craftsmanship, they've got something for you. Go check out brothersandarms.com, spelled out fully, brothersandarms.com, and use the promo code TRANSITION20 to get 20% off your purchase.
So the point of that is that everybody's starting to come together, and not just, well, that's just for serving. We're not going to do that. The hunting ones, fishing ones, we're all coming together now to, okay, well, I'm going to send you guys from our club to go to the hunting, and then you send me guys that are going to be part of surfing. We'll create 5 days of where to stay, food, and surf every day. And it's starting to filter out and work, because we can't depend on the VA. That's not the answer. The government's not the answer. It's the village is the answer. And for now, we have Veteran Surf Alliance, One More Wave, Swell, which helps first responders. I don't know if you've SWEL. If you can look up that organization, they specifically provide clinics for first responders, and then us. And there's Operation Surf, there's AMP Surf. All these organizations are helping active duty and veterans in society get in the water, and then also create a network of if you have anything going on, come talk to somebody. And then suicide prevention. That's one of the things too. When we talk about that, the veterans 22 a day. Well, how about we get left of the blast on that? What are we doing about that? And I say there's two things. One, get left of the blast and help people with their lives, and they don't have to go down that rabbit hole to the bottom before they have to make the decision to take their own life or to stay. Or why does life have to get so bad at the bottom? Why do you have to go to the bottom? Why can't you see that that's the bottom over there and you don't want to go there? What do I need to do to prevent from going there? And I get it. Some people, that's just where they end up. That's just the path men choose to take to go to the bottom. Like they have to go there in order to realize they have to get out of that hole. To see the light, they have to go to the bottom.
Or sometimes I think for a lot of men and women, it's just a series of turns. And then before they realize it, they walk down the stairs, so to speak.
Yeah.
And they're at the bottom.
For sure.
They may not have intended to get there, but, oh shit, I'm here. And now I need to get out of it. You mentioned going to that facility in Cardiff. You mentioned when you first started talking about getting to the bottom, and you alluded to something. Is there a mental health journey of yours?
Oh yeah. It's self-induced, in my opinion. I will say there's probably points in my life where I was a victim or played that role and realized, Eric, what are you doing? You're not a victim. You chose to be here. It's like when you joined the Marine Corps, you chose to do this. Relationships, I chose to probably drink. I chose to not talk the correct way, using bad language. I treated people not so kindly. I didn't treat myself kindly. I needed to be better. So my mental health and state was self-induced. I didn't take the time to look around and feel blessed and realize you've worked hard. People have looked out for you. You're in a place where you are because of not of the hard work you did, but people looking out for you. I think there's, for me, pillars of people that are beneath me, not necessarily, beneath me, but who have supported me, who are true friends to this day, and to include my family. And I've come out of those holes by, one, seeking help, asking for help, and going to counseling, talking to people, talking to a counselor on the regular about what's going on up here, and realizing that I'm okay. I'm human. You're not immortal. You're going to die one day. Enjoy the time while you're here. Don't get wrapped up in the rat race, those types of things. When you're surrounded in the Marine Corps by those deployments, I only went to Iraq twice, but you're surrounded by that mentality of being able to always have to go, being on the edge, training your Marines, looking out for their welfare, looking out for your children, and that can weigh on you. And you got to find a way to talk about it and to release that somehow. In today's, I don't know, we didn't live 200 years ago. What did those people have to do? But I covered that to where back in the day, people didn't wake up and have so much free time like we do now. They woke up, they had to get after finding when's their next meal. They didn't walk out, flip a switch for light. They didn't walk out and open up a fridge to have cold food or turn on a stove and there's hot food. They had to go hunt it, gather it, kill it, prepare it. And that's just that day. And then they have to worry about the next day and the next day and the next day. So life's so easy that we get wrapped around our own bullshit sometimes. And you have to realize, get out of that, focus on what really matters. And then that's it. Enjoy your downtime, enjoy how easy life is. And then that's why we in the club incorporated giving back to other people. There's people that are way less fortunate. Life's so easy right now. And you can get wrapped up in your own head and you got to get out of it. And having and surrounding yourself with good people, having a good foundation of people that you are holding you up, is huge to me. And that's how I was able to get out of it, or stay above it, I should say, not dip down and go to the very bottom. Maybe I felt I was at the bottom sometimes, but in all reality, I was doing pretty good, to be honest with you. Always had a nice home, always had a nice car. My son never had any health issues. I got remarried. She's amazing. huge. I have a 6-month-old. I have a 10-year-old stepdaughter. It's like, it's good. I live in Solana Beach. I have a nice home. And every day for the past year or so, since I found out that my wife was pregnant and we're having a baby and all that, I've been hard on her, hard on myself. And I'm like, why? Like, now that he's 6 months old and we're coming out of that postpartum and, she's starting her career and I'm doing a couple things with the club, trying to get it elevated. And I have to sit back like, dude, why are you stressed? Like, why are you freaking out? Why are you so angry sometimes? Why are you this? Why are you that? And it's self-induced, Paul. You can go to church every Sunday. You can still be a bad person. You can you can claim to be a Christian. You can claim to be a Muslim. At the end of the day, though, you control your emotions. You control the thought processes. You control where you want to focus your energy. And that's why I have to be more present and tell myself, look, man, you're good. You're 52, beautiful wife, beautiful son. Your oldest son's married to a doctor living in San Francisco and he's happy. You did a good job. So just live. It's kind of like LIVIN, So life, all right. Yeah. And that's kind of that. So yes, it's you, I think as men today, we just need to stick closer together, talk about things, but continue to be warriors every day. Continue to fight the good fight. And that doesn't mean physically fighting. That means just being a good man, being a good leader, understanding your faults and that other people are going to fall. You just got to pick them back up. And that's what the club tries to do. When you go surf and you get hit by a wave, you get punched, man. You get punched. You get held under and you keep going back and you keep challenging yourself. And that's what I love about surfing. It's never the same 3-foot wave every day or 6 or whatever it is that's pushing you, but you got to keep paddling back out. You're going to take one on the head, many of them. But the good thing about surfing is once you get that one, you've been pounded 10 times, but you get that one, that's it. That's all you wanted. And then you're good for a week or less, depending on who you are. Then you just keep going out, trying to get that, that 300-yard waving in or get the barrel. But then when you're with your friends and they see it, even better. So that's what the club is about, is just getting out there, pushing yourself. And that's why we do the contest in October every year, is to bring back that warrior mindset to compete. You're out there with 4 other people. You're encouraging them, but you also want to win. So, and then getting together on the beach for 3 days, breaking bread together. You're sharing stories of who all the branches are there. Coast Guard, Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy. We're all there. Everybody's not in the same unit. Everybody's got stories to come with. Everybody's got hardships that they bring to the table. When you sit around a campfire, you sit away from the campfire and you just listen to the conversations of the young guys or people. And it's amazing to hear what they have to say. As a leader, you're like, I'm glad we did this. It's worth the ass pain to put the event on, to keep the club going. Believe me, there's times I want to quit. I'm like, I'm out of here. It's too much of my own money, too much of my own time. My wife right now is like, you put all that time in, you don't get anything out of it. I'm like, yeah, but babe, there's that person right there needs my help. If I quit, what's going to happen? Where are they going to go? I'm not saying they're dependent upon me, but just the entity of itself is what they come for. And if I can create that environment to keep people from going down to that bottom or to come talk to someone or to point them in the right direction, I get those phone calls all the time or emails. Hey, I'm not feeling like this. Or I have a friend who needs this. I'm like, hey, call this person right now. Go to this organization, call them and go knock on their door. If they don't answer, you call me, I'll go knock on their door. So yeah, I could easily quit it all and just sit at home and hang out with my wife and my kid and just go surf on my own. But I don't know if I could do that anymore. And my wife and I had this conversation yesterday. What are you going to do? You don't even have time for our family. I'm like, I'll make time, babe. But they need me too.
You mentioned planning other things. So what's the long-term vision that you have for the club?
So the long-term vision is just existing. And so you got to have money just to survive in a way. So when I first did this I hate asking organizations for money because there's nonprofit NGOs out there that are always trying to pull from corporations and from local businesses. And if you're in the state of California, any local business, it's hard to make ends meet. So I don't like doing that. So we try to find a way to create money. So a year ago, I went to Kentucky for one of my former communications officers' 50th birthday, and I was able to tour all of Four Roses, Angel's Envy, Bullet, what's the other one, and Buffalo Trace. Went to all of them and learned that there's probably 4 or 5 major distilleries that provide the whiskey for anyone. You can go and buy as many barrels of this one mash as you want. You can put it in a bottle and put your label on it and sell it and call it your own. And I didn't even know that. So like some of these famous ones you got, they just made their own blend. So anyway, and then there's a restaurant Oceanside that I was going to, and he was a distiller. I go, hey, how can we put juice in a bottle and raise money for our foundation? He goes, well, I'm not going to put my juice in there just because it's too expensive. He went grain to glass, so it's not going to work. So the concept was we create our own. We bought the barrels, bottled it, and now we're selling it. I want to use that, and we sell it nationally so that revenue comes from there to put back into the club. The contest costs $30,000 every year to run.
Wow.
But it's professionally ran. We have to rent the beach, which is $12,000 from the base. It's $12,000 to hire a professional to have it judged, conducted, and registered from start to finish. That's 3 days. That's 12. Then you got t-shirts, you got food. Anyway, it rises up to about $30,000. So and then we all come together to do it. We end up having a shortfall about $5,000 to $6,000 every year because of how much it costs. So I invented the bourbon way to do it. It's slow, but it's got a good cause, and we're going to get there. The goal is to have it when I leave, that it's set in place. We're a certified nonprofit. We've gone through the whole process already. And then to create it to where people just have to step in the billet, just like in the Marine Corps, company gunny, first sergeant, maintenance chief, whatever it is. Here's your roles and responsibilities. Is it going to take you a lot of work? Yes. Are you going to get paid? No. Is it the intangibles that you're going to get out of it? Yes. Are you going to falter? Yes. Is not everybody going to show up? Yes. But you have to keep it going, because that one day somebody's going to call and you're not going to be there, and they're not going to be here tomorrow because they made a bad decision. So that's the goal, is to constantly just be a presence. And it's like the Marine Corps. You get out of it what you put into it. If you're there at the meetings, you're going to get something out of it. If you continue to surf with us or other organizations, continue to be in the water and engaged, you're going to get something out of it. You're going to be part of a community, a family. I think you'll be happier. I think your family will be happier. We'll be happier with you with us. Some of your past guests, they are part of the club too. I see them, they make my day. I get to see them out and around and about, and we see each other in the water, and then we have lunch afterwards or breakfast. And for example, one of your guests, I'd pulled in the base and I was leaving work, and they had just gotten out of the water. I said, hey guys, lunchtime. Let's go have lunch at the distillery. And then so we sat down, and it was huge to listen to them talk, because one of them was going through some family issues, and come to find out he had made it through. He was super stoked. Him and his wife they were coming up and up. They were down at the bottom, weren't getting along, and now they're doing very well. And I was stoked to hear about that. And it was good to sit around. And he had even mentioned, he goes, man, the club, meeting all these people and being able to surf with all of them and being around other veterans, other active duty people is huge, because it allows him to let his guard down, or her, depending on who the person is, and just talk about through things and realizing that they're not alone. And then he was super stoked. Like, he was almost ready to cry because of how it had worked for him, that him and his wife are now going to be okay. And the good thing was, he admitted where he had faulted. And I was like, man, I just wish I could just have my wife back. Wish I could just have my life back with her. And it worked out. It was huge. And I'm not saying it was because of the club. What I'm saying is that that's what we need to be able to do and provide. Whether it was through the club or not, it was through surfing, and it was through our service to our country and being a veteran, being active duty, whatever that was. He's still on active duty, and one of your guests was on here. He's already out, but bringing us all together and having the club survive, to have that networking it's been astronomically good for me, but also these people over the past 5 years that was since we've got it going.
There's something important to the aspect of when you've spent time in these careers, that team aspect, that person to your left, person to your right aspect is important. It's just that subtle balance when you get out. Don't obviously make that your whole identity and strive to, nothing you do is unless it's with a veteran or first responder club. But at the same token, there is that thing about coming back together and feeling that brotherhood, that bond, whatever it is, because like you said, we all experience it. If you're active right now and you're listening to this, you are going to be out and you're going to have that day where it's going to smack you in the face that you are a used to be.
Yeah.
You know, and it stings. And so giving an opportunity, having a place where people can come back together. It's not just the surfing. It's everything that comes with it. And at the core of it is it's just each of us to the left and to the right, there for each other.
Every day. Every day. I invite you. You should come to the contest just for one day and see what it looks like. It's the scaffolding's up. We have sponsors that come and show up. We're camping, we're eating, and everybody's just super stoked by every day they show up and they come out. I just take a sit back and look, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Watching everybody out there having fun, just everybody's families, they got their kids, you know, to include mine. So yeah, no, the camaraderie and just being comfortable around and feeling safe, to be honest with you. You know, it's not like we live in a tough world in the United States here in Southern California, but when you look around, nobody's going to steal out of your car. Nobody's going to steal from you. Nobody's going to drop a bomb close to you. And, you know, none of that happens. You're in a good place. You go there, bring your family and bring yourself and know that we're good, which is huge. A lot of people don't have that.
That is true. Anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure we talk about when you came on?
Just to reiterate, being left of the blast. Your podcast is all about transitioning, whether you're on the civilian sector, getting out of being a first responder, or if you're in the military doing 4 years, 2 years, 6, 10, whatever it is. Don't be a victim. You chose to be what you became, whether it's in the service or out. Take advantage of it. Don't be a victim. Understand it way before you're getting out. Have a plan and then stick to that plan. And just was it anticipation plus preparation equals agility? You know, just anticipate what you think is going to happen, prepare for it, and then when you get out, you're agile enough to bob and weave and do what you need to do and get after it. Don't quit, because it ain't going to get any easier.
Shit, they lied.
Right? It's not so good. The grass is not greener on the other side, regardless of what you may think.
Grass is greener where you water it.
Correct. That's exactly true. Fertilize it.
I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks,
Wish you all
Paul.
the best going forward.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. I'm glad being here. It's huge.
As always, thank you for listening or watching the episode. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out on social media or send me an email. The links are all in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're not already, please follow the podcast on whatever platform you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube. And if you would, please leave me a rating. Ratings do two things. You can tell me what I need to fix or improve, and the more ratings also gets the podcast recommended to more people. Another ask, please share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from and enjoy it. And last, don't forget, sign up for the newsletter.